Hello! Yes, normally I'm not here on the weekly controversies. Normally I'm off on the FiveMarks podcast talking absolute shit and wrecking everybody's head. But I'm here because somebody's got to do this damn intro. So, welcome everybody to part one of two of the weekly controversies. That's right, you did not hear me wrong. A two-part episode because this week and next week the boys were joined by Big Boots Murphy talking about some controversial wrestling opinions. And well, there's a lot of controversial opinions here, too many that we couldn't have it in just one episode. So, sit back, relax, don't get pissed off with what the boys say, and I'm going to send it over to the weekly controversy.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the brand new episode of Weekly Controversies, episode 28. I am yours truly, Jayo Brown, and I am here with my co-host who is finally back after his 3-week absence, Tony O'Connell. How are you, Tony?
I'm good. Good to be back. We missed last week due to technical difficulties, major technical difficulties. Guess we can blame Microsoft because everyone else is.
Oh,
But we're back.
Microsoft has ruined the whole world.
I'm back after a 2-week hiatus, technically three, but we call it a 2-week hiatus.
Yeah. Well,
And we are
having you
joined
back,
by, well, I'm stealing Jared's thunder. He's the host this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to be the headmaster of this episode. But not only do we have Tony, but we also have a very special guest, and you all know him as Big Boots Murphy. Big Boots, how are you today?
I'm doing really good. How are you guys?
Good, we're all good, we're all good.
Yeah,
Good.
Just getting ready for the controversial episode, the controversial opinions that we are going to be discussing on today's episode. And this is something that we haven't done in months, Tony. Actually, we haven't done this sort of
It's been
episode.
asked for, it's been asked for, it's been begged for,
Yeah.
We've been given out for not doing it because of the name of the podcast. So
Yeah,
we are here
and it's been
finally
a
after
long
20
time coming.
episodes.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. But I'm actually going to give you a bit of a backstory on this episode, everyone. And I actually pitched it to Boots Murphy, and it was a TikTok that he actually put out on his account, and it was basically about his controversial opinions on professional wrestling. And it just gave me the idea on getting Boots to come into the episode today and just talking about anything that he discussed about on TikTok, and then what me and Tony, have in mind as well. So I actually just wanted to say it to Big Boots as well. You said you have other opinions as well you wanted to discuss about on this episode.
Yeah, I have a few. I won't go once we're gone through the topics you guys want to go through. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 controversial opinions that probably won't be controversial because even that video I made and put out on TikTok that you mentioned was controversial opinions. When I was making it, I was like, oh, I might somebody might disagree with this or whatever. And so far anybody that has seen that video has just been like, yeah, I agree with all of those. And I'm like, oh, okay. I thought I was being edgy and cool and no.
Damn you, Gen Xers agreeing with everything we do.
I have normal opinions apparently, which makes me not special. So unfortunately, but again, I have some more OTT Irish wrestling focused controversial opinions, and if anything springs to my mind, I'll probably mention that as well. But yeah, so that's essentially the gist I have for later on, hopefully.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, and we can't wait to hear these opinions. But there's one that I took away from your TikTok video, and there's actually one that I want to start on when it comes to this episode. And you said that Will Ospreay should have never signed for AEW, that he should have went straight to WWE. Why do you think Will Ospreay would be a success now in the current product in WWE?
So when I say this, we have to take into consideration that the schedule is probably the main reason why, or not, it is the main reason why Ospreay chose AEW over WWE. There was a whole controversy with him and and Triple H over, shots being fired at each other and stuff. So the online consensus is that Will Ospreay signed with AEW because he wanted the easier schedule, because he was raising a child in the UK, and his fiance or wife, I'm not sure if they're married yet, is in the UK. So that is a completely valid reason to, choose $1 million contract over another $1 million contract. But when it comes to being, I consider wrestling an art and an art form, and us as wrestlers as artists, and that's how I view myself. As the narcissist I am, essentially, you kind of have to look at WWE as kind of like a major blockbuster A-list celebrity movie studio, where like a Marvel Studios or a Disney or whatnot. And then you would look at AEW as more like an A24, like a higher end kind of movie studio, like a look at my movies here. What the I'm trying to pick out a studio. Well, like, an upper echelon, not quite indie, but like upper echelon has a lot of money, but isn't Disney level. And you have to kind of look at those and kind of compare them to WWE and AEW, and kind of view at what like products they want to make, and what those artists are allowed to do in that company. And for a while, AEW was that kind of 70s like auteur style of wrestling, like Scorsese or Spielberg and stuff. They were given like these $1 million films, and they can make whatever they want, and that was what AEW was for so long. And that's what made it fresh and so good at the beginning. And then over time, we've seen the cracks in AEW. I'm not an AEW hater. I really, really like AEW. I don't watch it every week, but I don't watch WWE every week either. But this is a very long tangent. It will come back, I promise. But AEW has shown its cracks, like those auteurs in the 70s, like Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, Stanley Kubrick. They were making great films, but they weren't making as much money, and they weren't having as much success or as much cultural impact as Star Wars. So like Star Wars, was making a lot of money. I'm not saying Star Wars is better than Taxi Driver, but in terms of what draws in the most audience and leaves people with the most like cultural feeling, cultural catharsis and such, is Star Wars, is that epic blockbuster that brings everybody together and creates a lasting memory collectively as a community. I would prefer to watch a Taxi Driver over a Star Wars personally myself, but I like watching Star Wars in a theater full of different people who love Star Wars and will cheer along with you is an incredible feeling to me. So how I'm going to relate that back to that is very convoluted, but I look at wrestling the same way I kind of look at movies. They're two of my like biggest passions. It's about story, and an introspective, slow, methodical story like AEW does a lot. Like Will Ospreay's story of, I was this big fish in this small pond, and now I'm coming to a slightly bigger pond that kind of matches my fish size, I guess. That story in and of itself is interesting, and I'm not going to say that he's a bad wrestler currently or he doesn't know how to work or whatnot. But he has those flaws of those auteur directors from the 70s, like making Heaven's Gate, like hundreds of millions of dollars going into this one film, and it flops, You
Mhm.
put all this money into Will Ospreay, and you give him free reign, and he goes out and wrestles MJF in front of half a half capacity audience, you know, and
Yeah.
he only gets talked about in his crazy dives and his, you know, those moments. And wrestling is about the moments, but there are moments you've already seen when he was in Progress. You've already seen when he's in OTT. You've already seen when he was in PWG. You've already seen when he was in Ring of Honor. You've already seen when he was in New Japan. And now he's just doing it in AEW. And all the fans of AEW have seen New Japan, have seen Ring of Honor, have seen this, have seen that, have seen him grow throughout the years. And he's really good. I've met him twice now. He's really, really good. But he's not as engaging as a Cody Rhodes. He's not as engaging as a Damian Priest. He's not as engaging as, let's say, Braun Breaker, you know? If you look at Braun Breaker's jump to the main roster and how he's been presented, he lost to Sami Zayn, which is a bit, but how he's been presented, and then you look at Will Ospreay, it's kind of the old adage of show don't tell. They showed how badass Braun Breaker is. They told us how cool Will Ospreay is, and I personally think one person creates more traction than the other, and that's Braun Breaker. So, with all that being said, again, the reason I was kind of disappointed when I found out Will Ospreay signed with AEW was the fact that he has so much potential, because he pioneered a style of wrestling that a lot of people are mimicking and cannot do as well as he can do. But he is missing something. His promos are okay. His psychology is okay. His moveset is kind of, it's cool, but it's not great. It's not believable. And he is missing an overall aesthetic and look that is more engaging. It needs to be more engaging. And so for Will Ospreay, he can go out and have an amazing match or whatnot, but I will turn that off and I will not remember anything about it other than it's fine. It's the same style of match he's had for the last decade. And if you truly want to call yourself the best professional wrestler in the world, try and have great matches against odds like the WWE. WWE, especially under Vince, was not the most creative or fulfilling place from many people's accounts. But you still got NXT Black and Gold. You still got Daniel Bryan. You still got AJ Styles, you know? If you are truly the best professional wrestler in the world, it doesn't matter if people are actively trying to stunt you, you will be the best. And that's essentially my big, long, convoluted way to say that WWE would have challenged Will Ospreay. AEW is not challenging Will Ospreay.
And I do understand that. I totally get where you're coming from. But not only that, though, I think for Will Ospreay, you said about the schedule, and for him, it would have made it easier for him to go and see his family and to be in England a lot more. Because everyone knows when you go to WWE, you basically have to move your whole life to America. Like everything that you do from being in England, oh, that's not from America. Yeah, might as well change that, because as soon as you get signed up with WWE, that changes everything for any professional wrestler. But what I think is interesting is that
Hello?
I think he
Hello?
died. Oh no.
Did he get cancelled already?
Oh my god, no, he got cancelled.
What the heck? Have to click the link and get back into us,
There we go.
because he was definitely getting into something there.
sorry,
happened there?
someone was trying to ring me. I don't know who this is.
Oh.
Some number. I swear to God, some random number trying to ring me.
It should say on your phone if it's spam or if it's a weird number you shouldn't answer.
I don't know. Hold on. Sent the fucking. Right.
This is going to make for a great cut when we start cutting this.
Yeah, we can see him.
Right, yeah, sorry about that. No, because some random number was actually ringing the phone. So I apologize about that, Boots and Tony, and
No,
everyone
good.
who is.
It's okay. I'll make for a
But
great cut later.
literally. So Martin, you know what to do. But anyway, as I was saying, right, is Will Ospreay going to AEW makes more sense for him because when you go to WWE, no matter if it's in New Japan, it's a big jump. It's a really big jump. And Finn Balor thought that as well, because I remember a couple of weeks ago watching his documentary on the network again. And he was discussing about how many years he was in Japan and how he learned his craft there and how respected and how followed he was in Japan. But going to WWE, he was worrying about will people know him or will he adapt very quick to that style, of being in WWE. And then when he was in NXT, it took him like literally I think a couple of months and he was already NXT champion. But with the current stage of WWE now, I just think with Will Ospreay, I think he would rather go to WWE when he feels comfortable and when he already feels established. Because if he went in now, I don't think he would be one of the guys that will be pushed to the mill as he is in AEW. He will be just someone who will be there to have brilliant matches as he already is doing in AEW, and that's about it. He's not at that stage in his career where he can tell a compelling story, or as you said, Boots, engaging with an audience. He's not at that stage yet. Because we have to remember, I think he's in his early 30s. So in professional wrestling, that is still quite young. So he still has a lot of years ahead of him to eventually go to WWE. But I just think he made the right decision to go to AEW because I think going to WWE right now for his career would have been like just too soon. You know?
Yeah.
I
Go ahead. I
I'd
talked
agree
for.
with that assessment, Jayo. If this was a year ago and Vince was still running it, because Vince would have pushed him like Ricochet, he just would have been on his own little show every Wednesday at 12 o'clock. He wouldn't have gotten much of a push.
I
But Triple
understand
H,
that.
but nowadays with Triple H being there and he's pushing the younger guys and he's moving the older guys out to give younger guys a chance. I think Ospreay
No,
would have
I
thrived
get
in
that
today's
part.
WWE.
Yeah, but see, with Will Ospreay, like I don't watch Will Ospreay for the talk and to build a story. I watch him for the matches because everyone knows that with Will Ospreay. He's never one to be on the mic and be very compelling. That's what WWE is known for. It's known for telling the story, getting an audience, and then making the wrestling that you do in the ring to match up to what you're doing. You look at even what Drew and CM Punk have been doing the last couple of months, or what was going on with Cody and Roman. They were telling a story. With Will Ospreay, it's just the fact that if he was to go around and say bruv in this core market, everyone would be like, what the fuck is this guy? Like, this guy's a muppet, you know what I mean? He needs to change that to go into WWE. He needs to be more of not just the aerial assassin who was unbelievable in the ring, but someone who can say that they can be WWE champion, because that's always anyone's goal, is to be at the very top of the mountain. And I know for Will Ospreay, that is definitely a goal in his head, that he wants to be at the top. He can say he's the best professional wrestler in the world all he wants, but currently there is better people out there, and it's just a simple fact of they're just, as an overall wrestler, telling better stories and are just better on the mic.
Yeah. When it comes to WWE's kind of stance on having to live in America, it has gotten better. I know Ilya Dragunov doesn't live in America; he still lives in Germany. Even to this day, like, he's on the main roster and he still lives in Germany. So they have gotten like better with that, but it's still like the schedule compared to AEW is still horrible. And like for somebody like me, like, I kind of want that schedule. That schedule kind of intrigues me. I want to see if I'm mentally able to do that. But not everybody is, and not everybody wants to do that. And when it comes down to it, he made the right decision for himself. If he did not want to do that schedule, that's completely his fault, or completely his
It
decision.
also helps that Tony Khan has Wembley in his back pocket. I'm sure that would have been another big thing for him.
Yeah. But in terms of wrestling, a lot of people think that it's been ruined by the internet and such. I don't think so, really. But a lot of people have the old man thought of, like, oh, people are wrestling for Twitter, and that's what I feel like Will Ospreay does. I don't think there are many wrestlers that do, but Will Ospreay always gives the impression that he's wrestling for Twitter, and that's not engaging in the long term. I don't watch AEW week to week, but at the end of the Adam Cole and MJF feud, I watched that hour and a half long recap video that they did where they just showed clips of MJF and Adam Cole building up to Adam Cole turning on MJF, and that was extremely engaging, and there wasn't many moves, and the goal of a wrestler who is signed to it's the goal of any wrestler, it really is to bring an audience member back for you. Now it could be you and the product, but most wrestlers who want to be the best want them to come back for them. Like I'm sure Rhea Ripley really wants everybody to tune into Monday Night Raw for her, and for her segment. And it doesn't feel like Will Ospreay has that mentality, and doesn't have it just doesn't feel like he has that mentality of, I want people to notice this intricate detail that I mentioned in my promo that can be expanded on, and like it doesn't feel like Shakespeare to him. It feels like Shakespeare to me. That's what wrestling is, and I just feel like he probably isn't ready to be WWE champion right now, but AJ Styles wasn't WWE champion material when he debuted. He became WWE champion material by the end of 2016 when he joined WWE, but he lost to Chris Jericho, Roman twice, Dean once, and then he beat Dean for the World Championship over, I think it was like 9-10 months or so. Even if Ospreay went straight to the main roster, he'd be learning on the job and learning how to be a better pro wrestler, how to be a better pro wrestler for TV, how to be a smarter pro wrestler. Because he doesn't have the hectic schedule he doesn't like so much, he can go out once a week, or twice a week, or 3 times a week if there's a pay-per-view, and do his crazy style for slightly longer than he'd be able to do it in WWE. But he wouldn't actually be able to do it in WWE because they would bring him back down to the basics and build him back up in a better way. And now that's not that's not guaranteed. There are wrestlers that go to WWE and are treated like shit, even in the modern day. But if Ospreay wanted to be the best pro wrestler in the world, he would have gone to WWE, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I do understand that. But for Will Ospreay now, I don't think he'd even want that, because he goes AEW and he knows he can still be the same way he was in New Japan. As you said, anyone who goes to WWE, they know they can walk around that particular wrestler, and then they could like bring him back to basics to work him way up to another level. But to Will Ospreay, I don't think he would like that process. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I was saying to you, Boots, as well. I was like, what if he would go there like AJ Styles went there? Everyone knew who he was. He worked his craft in New Japan. He was missed at TNA for over 10, 12 years. And yeah, he was afraid that nobody knew who he was, but everyone knew who he was. Everyone reacted to when he came out and debuted at the Royal Rumble. And yeah, as you said, he was WWE champion in 10 months. But he rejected WWE when he was younger, before he became Mr. TNA, and he knew that he could learn his own way to making it up to WWE. And I think that's the same with Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay has to just learn himself to know that when he goes to that, big pond, he doesn't want to be at the deep end. You know what I mean? He wants to be swimming with the big sharks, you know what I mean? But at the current moment, he's not in the level of the big sharks in WWE, As you say, he's only selling what he does in the ring, all his moves and everything like that. That's all he's selling them. That's all everyone knows him for. No one really knows him for anything else. And for the current moment, I think AEW was perfect for that. Or even if he stayed in Japan, that's perfect for him. Going to WWE, it's not. And he needs to learn that in the next 3, 4, 5 years, to when he's like, I've done what I've done. It's about time that I make the big money, and he goes to WWE, and there's it.
Yeah. Again, do you want him to go to? And this is rhetorical. I'm not expecting you to actually have an opinion on this. But do you want a Will Ospreay who is, let's say, 10 years older, going to WWE with a worse neck, with a worse back, with worse knees, with worse blah, 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 where he's not forced to be a smarter pro wrestler and add 10 years onto his career? He's just lost 10 years of his career, you know? If he goes in 10 years doing the same style that he does already, he's just already going to have a worse body. And it's going to take him however many years to catch up to that smarter style of wrestling than it would if he would just sign with WWE now and forced to be a smarter pro wrestler. But that isn't to say, like, he is a big name. And if you look down in NXT at the moment, there are people doing like really crazy, outrageous moves and spots that Will Ospreay probably couldn't even do. So it isn't to say that Will Ospreay would be forced to slow down or to lessen his moveset. He might be able to, but he views himself as a main event pro wrestler, and he's not. That's another controversial opinion I have of him. He's not a main eventer. He's not a draw, you know, and he'd need to go to WWE to actually learn how to do that because, yeah, that's essentially it. Like, his mental health is more important than him being considered the best pro wrestler in the world.
And that's fair enough.
And you can respect that because your mental health is, if that's fucked, you're fucked. You've seen it in the past with wrestlers. I can't name this podcast because Martin will hang me next to Jesus. What happens when your mental health isn't in check?
You turn into Perk Angle.
That's it. But Jayo, you said that back before he signed with TNA, he was offered a contract with WWE, and he didn't take it. He took the TNA one, and that was the right decision back then for AJ, because he wasn't going to get pushed ahead of Batista. He wasn't going to get pushed ahead of Kurt Angle or Cena. But nowadays, anyone can jump in through WWE and get a push. Logan Paul's proof of that. Logan Paul's a hell of a wrestler.
Logan Paul's a big difference to Will Ospreay. You know that.
I'm not speaking in a fame sense. I'm speaking in a wrestling sense. When Logan Paul showed up first, everyone said, he's just a YouTuber. He can't do this, can't do that. He proved us all wrong. He proved us he could hang. But look at his match at SummerSlam. He jumped onto the ropes and twisted and then moonsaulted. Have you ever seen anyone else do that? I've never seen anyone else do that spot.
What also not upset me, but disappointed me with Will Ospreay signing with AEW was, if you look at Ricochet. Ricochet wasn't the best in WWE, but it was never the fault of WWE. Even when Vince was in charge, it was never the fault of WWE. It was always the fault of...
He was pushed to the hill when Vince was in charge, in fairness.
Yeah, and he would come out and do the most boring and horrendous promos and would not engage anybody in his matches. And he'd just go out and... Sorry?
He didn't have charisma.
He didn't have charisma. Will Ospreay has charisma. He doesn't have the best promos, but he has... Bruv got over, you know? Even though that's something that people around these parts hear every other day. It's new to Americans, and Americans are like, oh, this Bruv thing. Oh, that's pretty fun.
I can't stand it when he does that. I cringe every time he does Bruv.
It'd be like, I know we're Irish, but
and it's not. Like, he's not, like, I tune and listen to Arsenal Fan TV because it's fluent when they do it, because they do it. He's forcing it, and it's just oh my days.
It's the same as Yeet to me, like Jey Uso's Yeet. That is very forced.
He nearly got steered for that.
Yeah. But it's still, especially for Americans, like Bruv is such like oh, look at this British man saying Bruv. It's an engaging thing, but I think if Will Ospreay was given Ricochet's push, I think Will Ospreay would do better than Ricochet has, because he is more charismatic and more people would be engaged with him.
Ricochet just needed someone to be his mouthpiece. That's what he missed. He just same Ospreay. Ospreay can't go a promo for sure. He can wrestle rings around people, but when he starts talking, you're like, yeah, no, for a piss break. That's be back and forth.
Yeah.
Love Ospreay. I've chatted to him many times. Lovely bloke.
Yeah.
His promo skills are great.
But Tony, right, you said about Logan Paul, because you were the one that brought Logan Paul into this discussion, right? Logan Paul
did.
was a social media star who had a big following. He's gone to WWE, and everyone that will watch WWE will go, "Oh my God, this fella's a prick. Oh, how can anyone like him?" But you just go, "Man, he's unbelievable in the ring." And that's what gravitates to people liking Logan Paul. Yeah, his US, run wasn't great. But what I liked about it was that it's because of who it was who was holding the belt. And yeah, he didn't defend it that many times. But when he did defend it, it was always a big attraction to any show he did. So, for example, you look at SummerSlam, his match against LA Knight was one of the best matches of that night because it was a story that was built for a few weeks. It was a match that was months in the making, and that it was Logan Paul and LA Knight, two big, massive wrestlers who were getting back, no matter if they were hated or loved. And that's what Will Ospreay will have a problem with. If you are not gonna get a fan base to believe anything you say, heel or a face, and you're just gonna go out there and just do a wrestling moves like what Ricochet will do, you can be amazing in the ring, but if you're not gonna tell not only that you can be WWE level and you can get fans to cheer you, and you just come out with just generic reactions or not even reactions at all, it's a big worry for Will Ospreay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No.
You can call Logan Paul a prick. You can call him all the names under the sun. I mean, I'll agree with you because it's how his character rubs off in this. But you cannot look me dead ass in the eye and tell me Will Ospreay, Logan Paul is not a great wrestler.
No, he's an amazing wrestler. But because he's so hateable, that's his character. He's such a hateable.
He's a heel. He's meant to be hateable.
Yeah, no, but imagine if Will Ospreay was this big baby face. Let's say, for example, he goes in and just smiles. We've seen that before with Finn. We've seen it with Damian Priest. We've seen Raquel Rodriguez. Oh, let's just smile because we're baby faces and we think we can get it back in. If Will Ospreay did that, he'd be crucified. He'd be released in a year's time. He can't do that in WWE. He has to be established to himself to where he can be so believable in that level. And you say if he goes to WWE now, he can learn that. I don't think he'd even want to learn that. He'd probably be I'd say his patience would
that's
down
to him. That's down to Ospreay. If Ospreay's not willing to learn, then he's going to be stuck in the same rut he's in. We've seen wrestlers that showed up and thought they knew it all and weren't willing to learn. They ended up releasing a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But he went there, he was willing to look at he would be getting taught by. He'd be taught promo skills with some of the best on the mic, Triple H, Paul Heyman. The lads that drop in from time to time, Austin, The Rock. It's
yeah. No, and with AEW, people might go, that's probably wrong for him because he probably get a lot of wrong advice from people in that locker room and stuff.
But I get why AEW.
Yeah, but you look at what they're doing with MJF, right? MJF, you can say, is one of the biggest names in professional wrestling because of what he's done since signing with AEW in 2019. And as what Boots said, the whole Adam Cole storyline and how amazing that was last summer. So he's one guy that I'd say Will Ospreay can definitely mingle in and learn about, because it doesn't matter about how the age gap is, who's younger, who's older. If you can learn from different wrestlers and you can adapt to what they've done and then bring it into your role, then that would be amazing. Anyone who's a wrestler should do that to other wrestlers. Learn from them, give them what you've done, and then they can learn. You know what I mean? And I think MJF for Will Ospreay right now is amazing for that. Now, I don't like
that's the only watchable thing in AEW right now is the MJF Ospreay stuff.
Yeah, but if you think about MJF, right, he's WWE ready. He can go there and be a top star because he's so good on the mic and he could tell a compelling story even as a heel or even a babyface. But with Will Ospreay, if he can do that, then 100%.
But is he going to learn that before? Is he going to learn that in AEW and then in a couple of years jump ship? I don't think so, because they've no one there that's teaching people. The people that were there teach people jump ship back to WWE as soon as Vince left. Look at the Alistairs, the Buddies, all them lads that were getting a push till they weren't. No doubt in my mind when Buddy's contract ended and he was up at stupid money to stay in AEW because Tony knew where he was going.
Yeah, I think, look, we'll see what happens in the next couple of years anyway with Will Ospreay. But there's no doubt in my mind he will be in WWE. I just think at the time when he signed for AEW, for him right now was just the best choice. But I know
If
Boots,
you want him in WWE in a few years' time, he needs to slow his pace down. Otherwise, the only thing he's going to is a wheelchair.
yeah, fair enough. But Boots, before we actually end this topic of Will Ospreay, have you got anything more to say about it, or do you think that's the best way to end it?
I thought his match with MJF was fantastic. It's one of the best of the year. I am a big MJF mark, so
Aren't we all?
yeah. Well, no, not a lot of people. Like, well, a lot of people are, but like there are some MJF. Well, what's the word? Atheists, MJF atheists. Or something, you know, they don't believe in the gospel. Yeah. But yeah, I think that match was fantastic. It really felt like an MJF match, and Will Ospreay was really good in an MJF match. Which MJF just does like the WWE main event style, and it's the best style of wrestling, and it's the style of wrestling everybody actually cares about.
Because he's a storyteller. He's a
storyteller,
natural born storyteller,
and he's a great character. He can get in there with somebody with very little.
I love that he stays in character when he's meeting fans as well. I love that.
100%.
You don't get that in wrestling anymore. Sorry.
No, you don't. Yeah, and that's another thing that a lot of, like, Brian Kendrick said this during one of our seminars. He said that social media has ruined wrestling because people can see the mystique of wrestlers are gone. I don't entirely agree with that, but like, yeah. So you do get a lot of wrestlers that are really bad heels, and then they'll go to the meet and greet and be like, "Oh, thank you." I saw the Damian Priest 24 earlier on today, and he's a heel at the. Yeah, he's a heel. At one point, somebody go. Well, to be fair, this was backstage. This wasn't actually meeting fans, but I know I've definitely seen like wrestlers do this when they're heels. But somebody compliments him. He does this with his hands, like, "Thank you," which is like,
yeah.
I'm not shaming him for having that exact reaction as a normal person. Like, that's completely fine. But the fact that you're doing that as a big bad guy who's 6 foot whatever and tattooed to all gills, and you're going like this, and I'm supposed to hate you. You look adorable. How am I going to hate you?
No, I think I remember actually what you're talking about. I think it was Natalia or someone like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. I remember watching that last night and thought, I was like, he's the biggest, like, cute fucking joint you'll ever see.
Yeah. Yeah, so but I've seen, like, in OTT, and now, like, this is wrestlers have to make money selling their merch and stuff, and some fans will be very sensitive if they get talked to in the wrong way. But even still, like, I not that I'm old school. I hate when people say they're old school. I like the theatrical performance of wrestling, and if I were to meet a wrestler, I would want them to be in the character that they are. And that's really it. So no more about Will Ospreay. I don't have any more about him.
Yeah, but what would our because I remember you saying about the list and your different opinions, and some of them are OCT related. I actually want to know what's on that list.
Okay,
the list of boots, if you want to call it.
Yes, the list of the boots. We'll go through them. I'll go from the least controversial. Let me. Okay, so again, they might not be controversial. They're just opinions that I have that I don't hear anybody really talking about. Right, the least controversial thing. Paddy Morrow is the best pro wrestler to ever come out of Ireland.
Oh,
wait a minute! Actually, that might be the most controversial.
Yeah, that's right at the top.
That's up there.
There's a reason why you have that on top of that list, because that's a big statement. That's a big opinion.
Yeah. So I
would say he's probably one of the best wrestlers to never get out of Ireland.
Yeah.
I'd say he's probably the best coach.
He's called the Godfather of Irish wrestling for a reason.
I'd say he probably is a better coach than what
he loves what he does. I follow him on Insta, and you could see even when he's training his daughter, he just fucking loves what he does.
Yeah.
He is
And
a
that
massive
is the
nerd.
kind of person you want training.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is a massive nerd. I remember a couple of months ago, Luke Frehel, he saw Maxer do this chain sequence from 2003, and he just went up to Paddy and was like, "Hey, Paddy, like I saw Maxer do this chain sequence," and he starts doing it on Darrow O'Toole, who's going to be fantastic, by the way. He starts doing it on Darrow O'Toole, and Paddy's just looking at him like, "Oh, I don't remember this. I don't remember this." And then Luke gets stuck at one point. He's like, "I don't know how to finish after this point." And, Paddy just goes, "Oh yeah, I know." And he just does the whole sequence like from memory, and then he goes, "Yeah, and this is how you finish it." And then you can go into this, and he like gives you 3 different options outside. I'm like, this man has just like an encyclopedia.
Encyclopedia.
It's like I can't say it, of knowledge of wrestling, like as well. Like he gave me a finish for a match from last year, and he was like in real time. This is my reaction of him like telling me the finish, and I was like, yeah, blew
Oh,
my
Paddy,
mind. Blew my mind. Yeah, I just think like everybody who has ever trained in pro wrestling knows Paddy is probably the best, and he will never be as good as Paddy. His even his ability on the mic, he's actually surprisingly really, really good on the mic. Which I don't think he's known for his mic skills, but he is very good on the mic. And his fundamentals are the best. I don't see anybody in WWE be as good as him. Like he's so fantastic at it. And yeah, if he, I don't know, I've not personally talked to him about it, but if he didn't want, the only reason that stopped him from going to WWE and being a huge name is the fact that he probably just didn't want to, which is mad. But if you went to any show with Paddy Morrow, you would always walk away. Even I like bringing my mom, my sister to wrestling shows, and Paddy was still on the shows when I first started. Like they would walk away going like, "Oh yeah, and Joe and Paddy did this thing and da da da," which is the most important thing, because the next time they're going to a show and it's like, "Oh, Paddy Morrow's going to be on it," they want to go because Paddy did something so memorable, and they really wanted to see him wrestle again. Even just NLW just gone, he was an entrant in the Rumble, and he has the most memorable spot of the whole Rumble, where he does a frog splash, or no, a swanton bomb while wearing a donut, an inflatable donut around his waist. Do you know that you like wear at the beach and stuff, like, and you can float on one of those, and he does a swanton bomb while wearing that, and I still think about that because he's like, oh, what did he say? He said something along the lines of like, "Oh, let's go for a swim" or something like that. He does a swanton bomb onto Corbin, I think, and I was pissing myself laughing backstage. Like he wrestlers need to make an impact on you. That's how you truly,
and he made an impact on you.
Makes an impact on anybody that has ever wrestled. If you see Paddy Morrow, you're like, that guy's the fucking that guy is the best.
I love that. Well, for me, who doesn't know him personally, I would say Finn, and I think that's just a biased thing. But I mean, I can totally get why you would pick Paddy for someone who knows him personally, and not only that, who you've seen and then you learn from and stuff like that. And listen, for some reason I have a Paddy Morrow memory. I think it was Scrappermania 3, and I think I remember he done a spot where he nearly caved in his leg, but he still wrestled the whole match.
Yes,
he still wrestled the whole match and still doing flips and stuff. And I was like, man, for someone who nearly done his leg in, he's still doing all his moves, and that's just the dedication for when it happened in the match.
That is one of the best Scrappermania matches, in my opinion, as well. That 6 man.
Really, yeah?
Yeah, it's so good. It's such a good finish. That crowd when lads from the flat win, that pop is so cool. Another great story about Paddy Morrow is one time in training, he was reffing something, and somebody started doing a pin, and instead of just like going down for the pin and counting it, he just does a backflip into the pin and starts counting it. The best thing. I just you just like you kind of get into into a lull watching people doing stuff, and you're like, oh, what? Oh, he's going for, and you just see Paddy Morrow doing a backflip, and you just there like can't even count the 1, 2, 3 because you're just
you're like, Joe, I think we should have a special guest referee at the next show and have Paddy be the special guest referee just for that spot alone.
Paddy Morrow, even though he's retired, should be on every show still. Just let him come out there and just.
I'm kind of hoping he has something to do with the lads and at Scrapper.
Me too. Me too. Genuinely, me too. I cannot wait to see if he actually does come up.
Yeah. So, what's second on your list?
Right. So they're not in any particular order. I'm just kind of going through them to see what is like least.
Like there was loads of phone and stuff.
Yeah. God, these are actually now that I'm thinking about it, they are more controversial than I thought. I was being too. Okay. Irish wrestling and OTT fans are too nice. I've talked about this before on the FiveMarks podcast. But still, it's good to get into it, into this topic. Just OTT fans are way too nice, and as a performer, and myself, and I think of myself as a very good performer. It's not beneficial to be constantly praised. And now it's hard to like differentiate whether you had just an amazing match and everybody's praising you, or you went out and had a mediocre match, and because the fans like you, they gave you raving reviews. For me, like, I can't trust that opinion. I think my best match is against Terry Thatcher at the last Hard Knock show. And a lot of people talked about that match afterwards, and it's the first match where people were pretty excited for it, and after the match they raved about it, not like to the nth degree, but like people talked about it. But then I don't know if they're just being nice, because I've seen some absolutely, and I'm not going to name names, but I've seen some absolutely dog shit matches where every single fan is sitting on their hands, and then somebody will go on Twitter and be like, oh, that was the best match of the night. And I'm like, how? You were sat on your arse.
Yeah.
Like as a performer, it's frustrating to me that I can go out and have a bunch of people be really engaged in my match, get a holy shit chant off of like a body slam or something very similar. I'm very proud of it. I always bring that up. Or like just get people like extremely engaged and constantly like watching my match and standing up and cheering and booing when I want them to cheer and boo. And then for somebody to go out and have just a really shit match and get talked about more than my match. It's just now, maybe I had a shit match. I don't know. I really, truly do not know. But it's really apparent to me sometimes when there's gimmicks or when there's matches and they're not great, the fans are not cheering, and then they'll just go up and tell them that was the best match they've ever seen, or they'll rave about it on Instagram and Twitter. It just doesn't allow us as wrestlers to actually grow. And like if Damian Priest and Cedric Alexander go out and have a shit match on Raw, they're going to fucking know they had a shit match on Raw. Not only will people tell them backstage, but the fans will let them know that they had a shit match.
Yeah.
Why can't us as performers like know that you guys do not like our match? Before I even actually made my debut, Joe said that one of our first promo classes, he's like, our fans are really, really good. They're really supportive, bit too supportive. And I was like, oh, that's probably not true. But you go out and like you put together like a really good match that everybody's engaged in, and then 2 matches down the card, because they had more flips in my match than they get talked about on Twitter. It's like you were out of your seat going, boots, boots, boots. and all you did for that match was go,
Mm.
like I actually gave you something to chant instead of, oh, I got you out of your seat instead of you going having to get out of your seat to move away from a dive, you know?
Yeah.
When it's called right, sometimes they're not called right. It's make that catch yourself.
Say
Oh
that
fuck,
again,
he's
sir?
coming at me.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man, I can tell you, I've never pushed so many people in my life than moving people for dives, because people like, even if like every wrestler is a smart wrestler and they know that dive is not coming towards me, it's a fake out or whatever the fuck. Just get out of the way. Just get out of the way.
Yeah. Just you
Just
know
like,
yourself,
I-
just move
yeah.
your legs. Don't be sitting there going, oh no.
because what if it's a double fake out and it actually comes? Oh,
Yeah, and then you do a knee in, and then
Yeah.
you blame them, even though you sat there. But
Yeah.
actually, Bruce, can I actually, because I understand you don't want a lot of people to praise you, because there's sometimes where you get the criticism for you to get better. Any performer who, no matter where they are, is good for them, because criticism, you probably listen to salutation in them out, but you learn from that and then you get better. And I totally understand that from a performance point of view.
Yeah.
But I was on an episode when I was talking about the Sanity Show, and I was talking to Rob, and I was telling them about my opinions on OTT the last couple of months, and it shows. And I just thought, after Trent winning the OTT championship, the shows overall aren't very compelling, other than the draw and Barry. And that's just my opinion on it. Now, I don't care if people think I'm a fake fan or not a true OTT fan, because I'm the same as you. I do go on social media. I'm not naming any names. I do go on social media, and people are going, "Oh, that was a good show. That was a great show." And it's like, me, it's not bad, but it's not good either. I'm just looking at them going, it's just normal. It's just an OTT show with gimmick matches, with one or two of them being storylines. And I just think sometimes you need to go into a show. If it has 7 matches, at least 4 of them matches should be storylines. Not have the big storyline going into Scrapper, which is Barry and Draw, and then you've got the lads from the flats in BDE. Because other than that, from the last Anity show, I got nothing from anything other than just the put on matches. Now, I know you probably might think that's stupid of me to think of, but I hold back to Scrapper Mania that we can see 3, 4, 5 things going on currently in OTT, which could get me excited for other wrestlers.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I don't disagree with anything you said there. Wrestling is about. I think I've said it a million different things for what it is about, but mainly it's about connection. You know, it's about connecting with a wrestler or wrestlers or story. Like my girlfriend, really got invested in the Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley storyline at the moment. Just because it's soap opera. It's really, really good. It's just pure soap opera. It's really good.
Thank you, Dom. Thank you, Dom.
But so that's what we like really like need in OTT. And it's been known, like I'm a critical, self-critical person. I really like watch my matches over and over again. And I'm not the only one. Like, all of us as performers do, and I know Joe does as well. A lot of the issues of OTT, I think some are known and some are unknown, or like probably aren't issues, but they annoy me. I think the shows as of late really, for me, there are stories, but they're not engaging stories. You know, they're not a level of the Bloodline. They're not. And I know that's going to be hard to do, but they're not as like significant.
But for OTT, I think Draw and Barry's the engaging one. That's really it for me.
Yeah, I think that's the one everyone's talked about most going into this event.
Yeah,
because of how it's built.
And probably the freshness.
It's been built. That's the thing, though, and I think it shows. And it's been built as the Barry Sam show, where your champions was at the end of the tournament waiting for someone. I'm like, this lad's had the belt for 4 or 5 months, and it's done fucking nothing with it. So surely, we should be like, the both lads should be in that match, should be a triple threat, and we just go fucking wild. Have both of them team up and take out Trent, and just go at it in one-on-one fashion.
Yeah.
I get I think Barry said it in one of the videos. He's like, why the fuck am I having a team match? I won the Rumble. I'm like,
Yeah.
Isn't he saying what we're all thinking? He's saying what we're all thinking. He won the Rumble. Why does he have to defend what he's already won?
Yeah. But then again, like, fans aren't voicing their opinions as much. Man, then again, like, as well, I could not be just seeing all the criticism. There could be like levies of criticism against OTT stories or matches or wrestlers or booking decisions or whatever you have to criticize about OTT. Like, there might be a plethora of it, but I don't see it, and it's not really felt. And again, like, I don't know if I don't get much criticism because I'm just fucking fantastic at this, which I am. Or
Boots.
or the fans are just too nice to me. It's really hard.
I think the fans are too nice. Like, some fans will tell you it was the best match ever, and you're like, mate, how do you know it's the best match ever? You're in the toilet for the past 20 minutes. Go and do it.
Yeah. Oh, here's another one that I didn't actually write down, but off the top of the dome. I don't know if this is an issue in any other territory, like in London or fucking, I mean, in England or whatever, any other countries for wrestling. But it's very hard to get venues in Ireland for wrestling.
It is. There's not many venues.
But there are some venues that are really good that are bogged down because there's no bar, and you'd have to hire a bar to actually draw people in, because we do have a lot of wrestling fans that come in that don't like the fact that you can't get a drink, and they associate going to a wrestling show with drinking. And you know, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer and be like a fucking just a cunt and be like, don't drink, don't have fun at this wrestling thing, which is supposed to be fun. But it does.
I know what you're going at. It shouldn't be the reason why. It's the same with football. It's like football, the big culture thing is drinking and even going to it and blah blah blah. But it shouldn't be the reason why you go to it.
Yeah,
but that's
100%.
I mean, that's easy fixed. You seen it when Cork Championship Wrestling was about. They had a fantastic venue, and their way around not having a bar, BYOB, bring your own bills.
Then again, like, will every venue
as long as it wasn't glass? As long as it wasn't glass, it was allowed in.
Yeah, which, like, that's.
But I think Five Factory did it in their little spot. They get 100 people to most of the events, and they bring their own cans, they drink.
Yeah, that would be their own school, so they would obviously allow it. But when it comes to the GAA hall down the road that you've gotten on the cheap, but they don't have a bar, and you're like, oh yeah, but people are going to bring their own beer. But we don't want to drink up, or we don't want to clean up anybody's beer. Like, we don't want to, you know, you don't know what.
And you understand that. Like, I've seen the messes left in GAA halls after, and I'm like, there's bins around. Just why are you using the floor?
Yeah.
And then you're diving on this floor, and this floor is invested.
Yeah, I was cleaning up after one of the KFRC shows, and there was a full Coca noodle. Do you know, like the pots?
Yeah.
Pot noodles. There's a full one just there on the ground. I was like, how the fuck did you get that in? How did you get hot water for that? What the fuck?
Do you know what I did? It just cooked it or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
he bought his own pot of a kettle. Bought the bottle of it. He boiled his pot of a kettle.
Oh, sorry. Do you have an outlet for this kettle? Like, oh yeah, go over there. Plugs out the fucking screen for the entrance videos. I have to pour me pot noodle.
Yeah,
it would be talent for you.
But do you know what? Like, just talking more about what you said about drinking got to do with wrestling and being a reason why a lot of people go to the shows. I remember the Red Cow show, and I remember the first time I went to the WrestleMania one, right? I remember you were allowed to bring your plastic pint with you and, you know, bring it to your seat or open the balcony. But then the second one, you didn't. The only way you can drink it is if you're at the bar, because I understand Joe wouldn't have wanted a mess and everything like that.
Well, there's a reason for that. Joe knew Trump was getting schooled with everything in people's hands after he got the free count.
But, you know, I wouldn't have thought OTT fans would do something like that. You could be angry at a decision in wrestling, but you wouldn't be like Hulk Hogan throwing chairs.
All I did was get in his face. I helped his heel character.
All I'll say, I don't know if I'm allowed to go into detail about it, but it wasn't OTT that made that decision.
It was the venue. It was the venue.
venue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't OTT. I'm not going to get into reason why.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's mainly the reason why. And it everybody was pissed about it. I remember there was some matches where half of the crowd were just gone. I was like, why? Like, and then they'd be back the next minute. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I didn't know till after the show that they weren't allowed to bring. Even
I think
us,
the bar ended up being severely understaffed as well.
did it? Fuck, I didn't even know that. Like, even for us, like, we weren't allowed to bring the ring when we were taking it down. We weren't allowed to go through certain doors, and we had to go through like a fucking long way to get out of the venue to load the ring.
Because it's a nightclub after you was there, so it was
that first show. Oh my god! Not to peel the curtain back too much, but that last show went severely over time, and they were like really pressuring us to clean up and so they can turn it into a nightclub. And Will Ospreay decided to cut a promo.
Joe, and they're taking the ring apart as well. Ospreay's cutting the promo.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like
I
somebody ran over to me and was like, "All right, get the merch down." And I got the merch down as the main event started. And I almost got in a fight with a fan because I was trying to get the merch out the door, and he wanted to meet Will Ospreay or some shit.
Yeah, because we all went outside. I mean, I talked with Mark Haskins.
Yeah.
And we were like, if you had any stuff left, he was like, yeah, and he opened the bag and started selling t-shirts. So the man like the Reese came out and was like, well, he's fucking doing it, I'm doing it. Yeah. So there's a whole row of people selling t-shirts, and Joe walks out, and Jay Money's with me. He's like, look, I told you, them bastards are selling gimmicks in the car park.
That's so good. Oh man. that venue, even without that drink issue, that venue I just didn't like very much personally. It looked cool, but like the seating area was just the word for me.